hierarchy of their experience level. I don't know if that will help you or not, but just throwing it out there.
It's fine. I'm Damian Ross. I'm in the Seacoast office. I'm the assistant manager there. I've been with Daniel Gale for almost 9 years now. I started here, and when I was newer, I found that this is what I'm going to talk about today, for sale by owners and expireds. It's a good way for me to direct my energy to jumpstart my business. So when I didn't have a lot to do and I didn't have a big sphere, this is kind of how I built it up. I still do it today. I never really gave it up until this morning. I didn't really quantify exactly how much it was doing for me each year, but I'll go into that in a little while. I kind of came up with my own system for doing it. I've experimented with a lot of different methods, so please interrupt while I'm talking and ask questions, because I like the Socratic seminar kind of give and take, plus I don't want to stand up here and talk for however long. So any questions you guys have, I know Laurel wanted to delve into like hitting a lot of for sale by owners. I do focus on a lot of expireds too, but a lot of what I do carries over to both. So did I answer the introduction question? Was I
Beautiful. There's a for sale by owner in Derby and Greenlawn. I drove past it this morning. Just saying.
So you may see me look down here at times because I have notes written out for myself as I go through this. But I really take it back to like a step-by-step basic, you know, how to start from the beginning, how to find expired listings. So I know some people in the room, you may already have some of this computer savvy. It's step by step, and everything I'm going to show you today I can email to Laurel and Paul, so you guys have the slideshow, you guys can have my materials if you want to, you know, and you as well. And if you want to, you know, take what I use and rework it for yourself, whatever, you'll see things, I'm sure Maria will see things in here that I probably took from her and reworked. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel.
So, and I know there's a group of you who are currently you're enrolled in a prospecting program, and you get a list of expireds or listings that are going to expire at midnight emailed to you every day. But as I went through, because Damian sent me his presentation ahead of time, as I went through, you'll see he's going to go through how to pull them. And just cue in, because as he gets further in the presentation, you might find it beneficial. And the other thing is, with so many listings expiring between Christmas Eve and New Year's Day, 122 to be exact, that you may really want to have a system in place, so pay attention to the technology angle as well. So
let's see what I touched on already. It's a great source of business. Hopefully my games don't pop up on the presentation. It's a great source of business for me. I would say on average in the last couple of years I've probably pulled in 3 or 4 transactions a year from it, which adds up to in the neighborhood of $30,000 in commissions. When you think about the effort that you put in and what you get out of it, you know, a lot of people may be deterred, you know, postage and all that stuff, but it's really like a minor in the grand scheme of things, even though I know Laurel would encourage a lot of things that don't cost anything, like knocking on a door or, you know, volunteering or whatever it may be. So for me, the key's been organization, and I find that, especially like Laurel said, the #1 expiration date the whole year is December 31st. We all know that. Everyone's going to hit them that day or right after that. Nobody hits them the next week and the week after that. So you'll see how I came up with a way to stay in touch with these people. Like I said, I've experimented with different methods. I currently use mailings. This is my method for capturing expireds, but there's no right way to do it. I mean, you judge based on your experience what you think works for you, what you're comfortable with. Some people love to cold call. I hate to cold call. I have no problem with sending out mailings. I do it every week at the same time. Every week people look at me, they're like, oh, it must be Wednesday, Damian's doing his mailings today. But they know, and it has really worked for me. So, let's see. I touched on a lot of this already, but I've tried cold calling. I've done door knocking. You know, the holiday time is a great time to knock on someone's door and give them something. Everything that I'm going to show you today is about giving information. You touch on, you know, your professionalism and Daniel Gale supporting you and all that stuff, but it's really about them as the client. So you don't want to, you know, say me, I'm so great, this is why you should use me instead of that other schmuck you had last time. You know what I'm saying? So you want to show your value, but at the same time kind of have that Daniel Gale and your professional foundation. All this cost me to do the letters is time. every week, every Wednesday, if it takes me an hour or two to do it. And the postage, which, I buy stamps by the 100 when I do it. I try and keep my list manageable. Otherwise, I find, personally, I won't do it as much, so my list fluctuates anytime, probably between 30 and 50 expires on a given basis. I have a different area, you guys have Huntington, which is much more widespread. I focus on the neighboring towns too, so you'll see what works for you. But I would say maybe I pay, $400 to $500 a year on postage for $30,000 in commission. I mean, it's a no-brainer there. So we'll go on to how I follow up with my expireds and for sale by owners. So the first thing I'm going to take you through is how I find them. Then I'm going to show you how I personally organize them and what materials I use to catch their attention. Now, like I said, I've experimented with a lot of different letters. I'll show you what I do today. No need to reinvent the wheel if you want to take it. We're not in competition with each other, I don't think, so I have no problem with that.
Chad Seacliff.
Yeah, stay away from Seacliff or I will run you over. Figuratively. So searching for expireds. And again, this is going to be a basic overview, but you'll see how I pull up my search. So, of course, first step, I go into Stratus, I pull up a regular search. You'll see here, of course, I've highlighted. And then the first time you do it, you're going to have to set your parameters. After that, you can save them and use them in a saved search every time. I'm sure Connor is savvy with setting something like this up, but it's really pretty basic. So you'll pull up a regular search. I search by school district for the purposes of some of my mailings that are catered to a specific school district. But whether you want to do a town or an area that you are familiar with that's not Huntington or East Northport, I mean, you may have been very familiar with Comac and you want to work on Comac, that's great too. This is just how I organize it. So I set up the criteria, and then I have a weekly/monthly follow-up that I'll show you. So what you see here is I go by school district. I'm in Nassau County, a million miles away, so I start with the county and I select I do 3 school districts near me. So I have my offices in North Shore Schools, which is 3 towns, and then I have Glen Cove School on one side and Locust Valley a little bit further north. So I also pull my search, like you'll see when I organize, but I pull it just a month in advance. I don't want my list to be too long, and I also want to keep it relevant. Some houses sell, some houses expire, some houses get withdrawn. So you'll see I pull this search on a weekly basis, basically. Not this particular search. This is my populate the next month search, but I check every expired listing or for sale by owner every time I send something to them. So the next part of the search that I plug in is I exclude listing brokers not Daniel Gale. We don't solicit to other Daniel Gale expired listings. I don't know how Laurel feels about, neighboring competitors. I know one is in the room. No, I'm just kidding.
Better watch out.
But that's just the habit I'm in. I won't solicit a Locust Valley agent's listing if it's expired listing. However, I have been on the other side of that, and they do pursue listings. I have a listing that's going to contract that's expiring very soon that other Daniel Gales are pursuing prior to expiration, which I'm sure Laurel will really get read over. I can see the smoke starting to come out of her head already. But that's our policy. You have the same policy?
We're a victim.
You're the victim.
We are a victim
We're
of
the
this
victim.
poor behavior, but we will not go to
No.
that level.
There are so many expireds out there, you really don't need to. So I'm not going to harp on that. But something that doesn't populate in my saved search, because it changes every month, is the expiration date. So you have, this is when I made the presentation. I pulled up November. I just pulled up December last week, so I have it ready to go. Now it's December. I'll have my mailings ready for Wednesday. Nobody asked questions. It's all very one-sided. Okay.
So how do you get I guess you're gonna go there, truly expired, because they may be, an expiration date might be 11/30, but it's already under contract. Oh, you did available.
When I pull up my search on a weekly basis to make sure it is still expired, I do available and unavailable, and then I'll see if it went to contract or if it was withdrawn. Withdrawns you can stay on top of if you want as soon as they're withdrawn. I personally organize everything by expiration date, so for me it's easy. If it was withdrawn 3 months ahead of time, I won't hit them until it actually expires, but that's just a personal thing.
So you're going a month back?
I go a month ahead when I pull up. I think I show you in here the way I organize it with a spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I'll have a couple different categories. I have my current expired list, which are the ones I check every week when I'm mailing. I have the upcoming expirations list. That's the one that's a month in advance, so I can pull. Then I have, like long-term contracts, successful contacts, and I try and keep that main list as small as I can to keep it manageable.
Connor, do you have coffee planned for this Wednesday as it is?
It can be changed.
I think we should change coffee with Connor this Wednesday to a little bit of working with everybody with nuts and bolts and setting up a safe search. And that will help us get through today, if that's okay with you too, Kath.
Yeah, so you'll do it here?
Well, he'll do it in Northport too.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
anybody can come.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
So you pull your standard search. Of course, this is my North Shore School District, so you'll see different towns that go Locust Valley, North Shore, Glen Cove. In order to organize it, I also customize the criteria when I download it, which is something else that maybe you want to talk about your coffee discussion. So just like all these headings populate by standard, expiration date, street address, price, and all that stuff, I organize it so that when I download it, I have the headings that have the expiration date. The main ones that I want are the address, so I can do a mail merge. The price it was at when it was expired, in case someone calls me and I want to quickly look it up. What am I referring to? $400,000 listing or $4 million listing? And the expiration date, which is really the key one, so I could keep everything organized step by step. And then this is what it looks like when I download it. So you'll see just what I was talking about. I have the addresses, I pre-populate everything, the listing prices. Is this the wrong one? Maybe it is. This is why I do the expiration one. No, I think the expired date is somewhere over here towards the end. I download it into a spreadsheet. You could use a spreadsheet, you could use index cards, you could use whatever method works for you to keep track of it, as long as you stay on top of it, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to write it in a notepad, I keep on top of when I send them and what I sent them, so I know next time I'm not sending them the same piece, and I know how many times I've hit them.
How often do you send out a mailing to a specific outlet?
So what I've kind of worked into is the first month it expires, I send them a mailing every week. And then every month after that, it's once a month. And the way that my pieces are set up, it kind of caters to that. And I have 4 or 5 kind of pieces I send on a Wednesday, all giving information to the seller, with one of them being a monthly market report. So that's the reason. The way I cater it, it's different every month. I could just send a follow-up one. You may want to see what's going on in your local market and such. So, did you have a question too?
No.
Okay.
So if both offices have a lifetime supply of index cards, just throwing it out there. But if you want to if you are paper oriented and you don't want to put it into a spreadsheet, at Coffee with Connor, he can take it to the next level where we can download it into labels for you to put on, so you don't have to rewrite from your one list to the next list. So Connor can show you how to do that as well, or he can just help you do it.
This all transfers over too. I think, Laurel, you use, I forget what it's called. You pay for something where people can see who's been in their house for a long time. What's the name of?
No, I pay for the Kohl's directory.
Right, the Kohl's directory.
So that's phone numbers,
Oh, okay.
home phone numbers, cell numbers, and email addresses.
Okay, but you can look up and see probably what houses, even if they're not expired listings, what houses haven't sold in a while. Pull the phone number. It may be a little bit different here in Nassau County. We could pull it on the Nassau County website. So
Yeah,
can
we don't
see.
have that in the Huntington website.
I mean, you may pick out a street area, maybe a farm or something like that, and pull the public record through the street and see what hasn't had a transaction in a long time. Those people might have been in their house for 20 years, 30 years, and are ready to sell.
You guys can also do it on the do not call list on dashboard. There's a way to see how long they've been in the house.
That's what I was talking to, but I didn't know if it was Nassau specific.
No, so the do not call list is a company specific thing. So we have it, it's on dashboard at the top, the do not call list. We can go over that at Coffee with Connor too. Give me a list now.
You have your Wednesday full.
We should do wine with Connor instead.
We won't make it through the class night. I'll need the bottle myself.
At 5.
Coffee and
I'll wake up in the middle of the night.
5
You'll
p.m.
have nightmares about
You'll get
experience.
everybody calling.
So I take the list I download. Oh, I interjected a little bit. Okay, so last time I did this presentation, I stuck strictly to expires. I'm going to touch on for sale by owners as well, where to find them since they're obviously not listed on Stratus. There's a multitude of websites. I just pulled up a few, forSaleByOwner.com. And again, I'll send this to you guys so you have it. FSBO.com is another one. I'm sure, you know, depending on the seller, they're going to be in different areas. And then a big one now is Zillow, so you could go right on Zillow and pull up for sale by owners, and I'm pretty sure most savvy sellers are well aware that this is the place where we find, you know, a lot of buyers search for their homes. I would say 90-something% of people find their houses on Zillow. So, again, you would have to pull it from this by address, then go look up the public record to populate the information that you want to keep track of into what I use as a spreadsheet. So, like I said before, the crucial part about staying on top of it is the organization. Many agents contact an expired listing right when it expires and then fail to follow up after that. I find for me, on average, I get a response after the second or third touch, even though I do keep in touch with a lot of them for months and months to come. Those are the outliers, but nobody generally does that because people forget. They have no method for organizing it and they have no method for follow-up. So I find that that's really what will help you stand out with everyone else that's doing this. Like I said, I use my drip campaign. So now you were asking before about the follow-up. This is highlighting, I'm sorry, D, you were asking, the upcoming expired list. So this at the time was my November upcoming. And you can see a lot of people put their expirations towards the end of the month. Like Laurel said, you'll do this month and you'll see hundreds on December 31st. I do all of the ones in my school district. You may pick and select the ones you like, you know, so it's not overwhelming depending on how many you have. But I take this list as they come expired every Wednesday, say, you know, it was November 2nd, and I look back and I check all these to see if they expired that week. I'll put them then into my expired listings, which is the section above it. In Excel, it'll be another tab on the bottom. Let's see if it shows it here. Yeah, so these are the ones I was currently working on. I go into the public record, I look for the last name, first name, I populate all the information I pulled from Stratus, and then you'll see here each time I contact them, I just put the date in there. So I have my first contact, second, and third. After the fourth, I put a break, just a black line going down the sheet so I know that I've reached that person 4 times, and then this list goes out to here. And every time after that, it's a monthly letter. But you'll see, it's kind of hard to tell. I put little notes here to remind myself what I sent them. And I'm going to show you the pieces that I sent. I've done handwritten letters, I've done typed letters, I've done handwritten envelopes, I've done, I read one time that people catch on to yellow paper. So I went out and bought a stack of yellow paper from Staples and I hand wrote notes on it. And I left the name blank so I could make 50 copies and then handwrite the notes in. I find that this is the best way for me. It looks professional. I've done like the handwriting font on an envelope to see if I get a higher open rate just because people think it was handwritten. I stick with what looks to me professional. So that's how I keep track of it. And you'll see this was my real list at the time that I made this presentation. So that's a manageable list for me.
So each one of these, you personally take the names from public records. There's no automated way for any of that.
Not that I know of, Connor.
Okay.
It doesn't. Once you learn how to do it, I'll be honest with you. Like on this Wednesday, this Wednesday will be my big mailing because it'll be the first Wednesday of December. So I'll send out my market report. But I send out all these. I print out 3 school districts worth of market reports. I print the letters, the envelopes. I've been doing this a while. It takes me an hour to an hour.
But you also check that each one isn't already listed with somebody else?
So when I pull them from this list, the upcoming expired list, and I'll check them one by one. So like I said, say that Wednesday was November 2nd, I'll start with this one, I'll pull up a search, available and unavailable, and I'll just plug in each address one by one. So I do 3 Allen Drive, Bayville, expired, good, I put that on the other list. The next one, 57 Continental Place, under contract, I delete.
So you all know yourselves best. So if 122 a week for 6 weeks is not going to be something you're going to keep up on, don't waste your time. Pick a school district. I guarantee you your number is going to go down to 15 to 20 if you just focus on a specific school district that you want to work on. Do what you know you can follow through with, and also that you can financially keep up with. Because if it's not in the budget to send out 500 pieces a week, don't start. Just make a good business decision up front.
Right. And I can't speak for Huntington in this area, but I can tell you, like, on a weekly basis, if I pull up 10 expired listings, maybe 2 or 3 of them are really expired, and the rest went under contract, or the rest were extended, or whatever it is. So it really is quite manageable. You'll feel it out based on if you want to do Huntington School District, maybe that's too much. Maybe you want to focus just on, Huntington Bay and Haleside, or whatever it may be. So,
So every week you're looking back to see if anything has changed on status.
yes. So when I pull up the list of upcoming expireds, I put them in one by one. When I get to my list of what's currently expired, so I mailed all these people last week. So now I'm gonna look at the 5 I mailed last week and the 2 new ones that expired since last week. And I'll again check those 7 one by one, make sure they're still expired. Like I said, once you get the hang of it, you pull up available, unavailable, type into towns. It's like back and forth. It takes 2 minutes to do. It's a little overwhelming at first, but once you learn kind of the routine, it's pretty simple. Okay, so the next part I talk about is what I sent out.
Wait, let me just say one
Sure.
question. So you don't obviously send them anything until it actually expired.
Right.
So do you mail that 2 days before so it gets there the first day it expires, or you don't mail it until it's truly expired?
I'm a creature of habit, and I have OCD. I do my mailings on Wednesdays. Doesn't matter if it expired Tuesday night or the Thursday before. I keep, because again, for me, it's simple to do it every week, once a week, as opposed to,
Trying to catch
all right,
up
let's see
every
what
day.
expired yesterday, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then it's very hard to keep track of what did you send, who you sent, when you sent. If I do it at the same time every week, I know I hit 7 last week, and does it happen that sometimes they relist right after with another broker? Sure, but more often than not, I would venture to guess that broker was in there before it expired, and that homeowner probably called a couple brokers.
Mhm.
So I play the odds on the one, in a blue moon that I may not touch right away, to make my life simple, if that makes sense.
Wednesdays are going to be very busy.
And you guys can do Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are my day. Don't overwhelm the post office.
Good, we're going to get them a day before Damian.
I mean, maybe Sundays would be good because it's the beginning of the week. I don't know. It's just the habit I've fallen into. So the information I send, I make sure to keep pertinent to engage the sellers. And like I said before, it's the information that you're giving them to show them value rather than saying, I'm so great, I'm so great. You'll see on all my pieces at the bottom, it has my short bio and my phone number and all that stuff. So they see who I am. They see my picture. I'm not, touting myself necessarily, but the more you do it, the more people start to recognize you. I've shown houses where people go, oh, I know you, because they've seen my picture on a mailing. Another unselfish reason for everyone to do it is that the more Daniel Gale mailings flying in and about, the more they're thinking about, Daniel Gale. So I've sent out letters to people who my letters sparked them to remember one of my agents in the office, and they said, oh, let me call Jean Marie or Liz. I forgot to, it happens, but, good for them. The more people that do it kind of works both ways. And I think I touched on all that. Okay, so the first letter I send out, it's in no particular order, it's just the way I threw them in a slideshow, is called the Daniel Gale Difference Letter. So you'll see at the top I have a short letter talking about the process, what makes Daniel Gale different. I'll email this to you guys so you have it.
Yeah.
This bottom portion on all my letters is the same. My letters are due for a restyle. After you guys plagiarize it, I'll probably restyle it. But you'll see at the top, I have a heading at the top. It's, whether you do this on Daniel Gale letterhead, you make it in a letter. Mine's a little less formal, so it stands out. And then, do your first last, it's the mail merge, which I'm sure Connor can show you guys how to do. I included instructions in here as well. One of the slideshows is a hyperlink to how to do a mail merge. But you will populate your list of 30 people, and then you mail merge with the letter, and boom, you have 30 letters. You put the letterhead in the printer, you're good to go. So that's how I do it. Like I said, I've tried handwritten letters. I found it was easy for me to manage 4 or 5 letters at a time. I used to write a new letter every week. Every week I would think, all right, what the hell am I going to tell them this week? So this is the Daniel Gale difference. I send a customized piece along with it that some people may recognize because I took it from an old piece and kind of updated it to what it was today. So this is the letter that I send with it. It's what's great about Daniel Gale, why pick you as the agent, why pick Daniel Gale and why Sotheby's. So Maria, you probably have seen this, right? I think we worked on this. Yeah. So at the time, I think when I got it, it said, why Daniel Gale? Daniel Gale has 600 agents. Well, now Daniel Gale has 950 agents. So you may have to cater it a little bit, but most of this is probably pretty relevant to everyone.
It's on the website.
Is it?
We'll knock it off into a Word document for you guys.
Yeah,
And it should be updated, because it does change.
I'll email Laurel and Kathy this exact form, and you guys can cater it to whatever you want. I didn't print it today because I figured it would be easier just to email it to you guys. Let's see. So this is the first, not necessarily the first week, but this is the first letter that I send. The next one, so this is out of order, but this is my market report letter. This is the one that I'll send out on a monthly basis. It looks pretty much the same as the other one. It just has some different verbiage and says, whether you're looking to sell as soon as possible or taking a break, being aware of what's going on in your market can be very helpful to you. So I send this piece along with my monthly school market report letter. So this is something that the office started to do, and then they weren't doing it as fast as I wanted it, so I did it myself. And now my office does it twice a month, every 2 weeks. I still send it out as a monthly piece, so I still make it myself. But even still, this takes me one school district, 10 minutes to make, if that. So you go on Stratus, you search all the newly listed by date last month, newly under contract, and newly closed by date, and that's it. This is usually 2 pages for me.
And those are just Daniel Gale's?
This is everything that I work at. Yeah. And you'll see at the bottom for closed, it says what they were listed at and what they sold at, because people are curious. They want to see what's going on in the neighborhood. What did the house across the street sell for?
Barbara runs it in Northport for Northport School District, and Deanne runs it here for the entire Huntington Township.
Oh, so there you go. You already have it. Now you have a reason to use it. Aside from handing it out at open houses. So like I said, this is the piece I'll send out on a monthly basis. A third letter I use is, which one is this? This is the marketing plan. This is another one you'll recognize. This is just a piece that shows where the house goes when we put it on the market, how we advertise it, and how the whole thing works. Because either sellers, for sale by owners, might not understand why use a realtor. Why is it different when I list with Daniel Gale than trying to do it myself and saving myself a commission? And the people that have had a realtor already for expired listings may not be aware of all the pluses that Daniel Gale has to offer that their company might not have had. Who's had a seller that doesn't even know where the house goes, doesn't get continued follow-up and know what's going on. So this is the front page of the piece. Again, I'll send you both sides of the piece, but it just shows where the house is listed, the different websites, media outlets, Facebook, social media, and all that stuff. And then the back side of this is like a bullet-pointed marketing plan, so to speak. Brochures, mailings, all that stuff. You can keep my face on it if you want.
Okay.
The last letter.
I was gonna say we could draw a little mustache on it, but it's already there.
My face was on the railroad poster in Glen Head with all the women one year, and mine was the only one that didn't have a mustache.
I got a mustache on mine. A friend of mine called me up and she said, from Huntington train station, and she said, "You look good with a mustache." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "That poster that has your mug on it? It's got a mustache."
We should actually just have marketing put mustaches on it for us and put it up that way. I actually like that idea. Watch out.
You can make like two little whales going on every
Oh, cute, oh my God.
We'll work on Photoshop. So the last letter that I have in rotation is the success list, which again I pull right off the dashboard for my school district. I think every area is different. Anaposis populates them, but I have, whether it be a North Shore School District success list or some towns, smaller towns like Bayville, they do their own because they wanted one at the time. But this is just another piece that shows everything that's sold. And then again, the whales designate that we had both sides to the transaction. So this is just a portion of the piece. Usually it's like 3, 4, 5 pages depending on the area. Huntington's probably a long one. And you would print the first page on the letterhead with, the whale, Laurel, Pat Peterson, and then every other page after that is a full page. So you can print that on regular paper.
Also, the broker metrics report that shows how many buyers that we bring, like in Huntington School District, that would be a good piece you could supplement in there too, a nice little chart, throwing it out there.
I came up with a fifth piece recently that was for me because I had the Evoker video done. I said, here, if you want to get to know me, here's my link and blah, blah, blah. That's because every once in a while, a month has 5 Wednesdays and that really screws me up, so I had to come up with that. And then the letter. So these, again, I mail merge and print on Daniel Gale envelopes. I matched the color, so that's hard to tell that it's Daniel Gale blue, but I found that the regular printed envelopes got the most attention, even though they look like a lot of other pieces of mail. It just looks professional, so that's kind of why I stuck with that. And I think that's it. The last slide I have in here is, like I said, a hyperlink to how to do a mail merge if you don't know how. The first couple times you do it, it's a little complicated. Once you have the document set up, which is really the tricky part, then every time you do it, it's easy because you just put the new names in your list. You merge from that letter to that list, and it just gives you, if you have 30 names, 30 letters, you print them out and stuff the envelopes. It's pretty straightforward. I know it's, you probably just need to do it a couple times, but it's pretty easy to do once you do it. And that, I went through that pretty quick, but that's it. That's me. I told you at the beginning. That's me at the end. I'm very open to, like, if you guys ever have questions or anything like that, if you want to call me, email me, text me, say I'm having trouble with this, how'd you do this, can you show me, whatever, please do, because I'm happy to help.
So what's your best success story off of one of these mailings, Damian?
I was sending mailings, and there was a listing that had expired on Frost Pond Road in Glenhead, and the guy was very nice. He was trying to sell his father's house, which was the house directly next door to his that had expired. He called me. I should rewind. Before I did this, when I first started at Daniel Gale, someone said, we're going to send letters to people who are financially distressed. So we looked up all the list pendants in the area on public record. We had letters like, we can help, and the first phone call I ever got was some guy screaming at me, irate, I don't have financial trouble, what the hell are you talking about? That was the one and only bad phone call I've ever gotten, but still to this day, every time I pick up the phone, I'm like, hello? So I had sent the letter to this guy as an expired listing. He calls me up, I remember where I was when I picked up, and I said, hello. Turns out that he was this really, really nice guy, and he wanted to see what I thought the house was worth. So I came over, I priced the house, he said he was going to think about it, he sold it privately. I stayed in touch with him, and a year or so later, he called me because his cousin and his aunt owned like 5 pieces of property also in Glen Cove. He called me for that, I listed it, Daniel Gale sold it, that was over $1 million. So that's just a testament of whether you get the house or not, there's always something else in the pipeline. That's probably one of my better stories.
That was at the very beginning of your career.
I sold that, had to be 5-6 years ago. This guy, he's quite the character, but he's always very friendly. I sent him, we had like printed Daniel Gale jar openers, like in the shape of a house as a holiday gift. And I sent him one because I sent my whole sphere one. And He's like, oh, I love that thing, but when my company comes over, I just turn it upside down and use it as a wine coaster. I'm like, well, thanks a lot.
So much for Adam.
It is better, I guess, than a mustache. But like I said, I get probably 3 or 4 listings a year off of this. You know, it's a small part of the business, but it really does snowball. Whether you're an experienced agent, someone like Kathy sending a letter, people will say, oh, I know Kathy, and you might not even get the call because of the information you sent to them. They might just recognize you and say, I need to call her. As a newer agent, I had to show my value, and that was another way to get into the doors, to show you. But however you do it, however you get your foot in the door, people start to recognize you, and it snowballs. And this has led to other opportunities for me. But like I said, I always continue to do it because you always want to keep something in the pipeline.
What, you send the 5 letters, and after that, what do you do with them? Do you still send them?
Well, that one slide that showed you,
Do you just send the market report after that,
yeah,
pretty much?
yeah, like this one. After here, it's just every month market report.
So you never call them?
I've experimented with calls. I play by the rules, so I was finding a lot of people on the do not call list, and some people
You never
say,
knocked on their door after doing those letters to introduce yourself?
I have. I've knocked on doors for this. I've knocked on doors like during, I think it was Hurricane Irene. I knocked on doors and gave out Daniel Gale flashlights because everyone was expecting to lose power. It was before Hurricane Irene. Door knocking is great. I find that for something like that, it's probably good to have a partner or someone who is going to hold you accountable and say, aside from Wong, I'm sure will. You want someone to say, oh, let's go, let's knock on doors. Because when you're doing it with someone else, you have a little push, just like going to the gym, right? You're going by yourself. Sometimes it's easy to say, I'm too tired today, I don't want to do it today. This is also for me easy because it takes me, half an hour to hit everyone. If I were to knock on all these doors, it would take a long time. So for me to balance my schedule, it was easier for me to do mailings, but I definitely think that the phone calls and the door knocking is great.
Damian, how long do you continue, I'm not beating a dead horse, but if someone hasn't relisted?
When do I cut them loose?
Yeah, I mean, some people may say, it's enough for me, I'll wait a few more years. I mean, do you have a time span on?
Well, when they relist, I take them off the list, of course.
Well, yeah, relist, but.
How long do I continue this out for?
Yeah.
It's going to depend on your area. I would say for me, like if I started in Huntington, I'm sure it would be different than what I'm doing here. But to keep my list manageable. So December 31st rolls around and I'm going to have to be a little more picky with what I send to. Otherwise my list will be too much.
Right.
But say another 10 come up next week, okay, so now I have 40, that's still manageable. Another 15 next week, all right, maybe the ones that I've been mailing for 8 months or a year, maybe I'll switch them and I put them in long-term contracts. So I never take them out. Have I done too much with that list? I've added some to my sphere for mailings, but once it's really the answer is once my list starts to get too long, I cycle back to the newer ones.
And so when you, every week when you do this, you add it to your existing
Yes.
Excel file?
Yeah.
You don't start a new file for each week?
No, I have this one file. What you saw before was, this is just what I downloaded off of Stratus. So like you populate your list and it says, let's see, up here, it says download.
Right.
So from there, that's what that list populates, this spreadsheet.
I'll have Damian and Connor spend a few minutes at the end of the meeting just to go through so Connor understands exactly, because if Damian has a system, obviously it works, and that way Connor can go over the real technical nuts and bolts of it. So.
But it's all one sheet. It goes
Aren't
through.
you happy you're here this morning?
It might be a few different coffee with Connors because trying to do a mail merge and also save search on
Sorry.
Stratus might be more than an hour long, especially if you never used Excel before. So.
Damian, how do you keep on top of the status of the 8 months worth of listings that you have?
I could assist.
In a given week, like this week will be my monthly letter. Like I said, it's the first Wednesday of the month, so this Wednesday is a longer time period for me to work on this than most Wednesdays. I will go back to the whole list and check all 30 of them or however many there are.
Individually?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's, once you go into Stratus, you know, I set this up in one window, I have Stratus in another window, I pull available and unavailable. For me, it was 3 school districts, so I pulled the 3 school districts, and then I just type in, you know, street number, street name, check it, good, go back, next one. And once you don't have to do like a new search every time, you just go back and forth, it takes me 5 minutes, not even to check those, so. You can even put in every single name at once if you want, but I just do it one by one, between the 2 windows.
Okay.
That's
Cool.
all.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Damian?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thanks for
Damian.
having me, it's the first time here.
I think,
Really?
Damian, I think that another good thing to take away from you is that you have OCD. Because OCD is what you need for this. You have to implement OCD.
I'll have another PowerPoint on OCD.
Next week's roundtable.
Damian's OCD.
It's a good thing.
You have to have, I think in this business, whether you're doing mailings or not, you need organization skills.
So good.
Otherwise, you'll lose track of your customer base, your friends, and we all know if you're not in front of someone's face all the time, they forget about you. So this is just a jumping point to that, but really organization is key.
Yeah, a system that you
That's his
have,
OCD.
that system, and you keep up with it, and it becomes like brushing your teeth in the morning.
Right.
Same thing over and over and over.
Right.
And if you're one of those people who says, you know, put me on Wednesday morning, every Wednesday morning, first floor time shift, that's good dedicated time to say, okay, if I'm gonna be on every Wednesday morning, that, this is what I'm gonna spend my time doing.
That's what I used to do.
So, you know, just the key is consistency, as with everything. So, cool, awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yay.
Thank you, very good, thank you.